we are live from our studios here in Kokomlemle on digital address GA0992539. Our top stories this hour. Local government representatives in various parts of the country moved to make wearing of masks mandatory. We start from here in the capital, where you may be turned away at shops and offices if you don't wear the mask. More as a security think tank pushes for free distribution of face masks by government. Also coming up, Agricultural Ministry insists Ghana's food security prospects are intact as it debunks assertions food prices have gone up. Well, what is your experience? Have prices changed in the market the last time you visited? I want to hear from you as we also take you to the market to find out how they are observing social distance in COVID-19. Also coming up, we address public education and on COVID-19 as several regions complain education has been abysmal, making people underestimate the disease. So what is the plan? My special guest for today is Head of National Commission for Civic Education. We'll interrogate it. Join us on DSTV 421, GoTV 144. Remember, we're streaming live on YouTube. You can catch us there as well. But drop us your message. Like I said, what is your experience on the market? Have food prices stabilized? Has it gone up, as the minister is saying? Drop us a message on our WhatsApp platform and we'll share it with the rest of the world. My name is Gifty Ando Apia. This is The Pulse. Please be my guest. Ghana's situation on COVID-19 at the moment, as you know, total confirmed cases are 1,154. That's 1,154. Just a reminder, that has not changed as far as the website of the Ghana Health Service is concerned. You want to take care of yourself even as the numbers continue soaring. Let's start with a fisheries scientist at the University of Ghana, Professor Francis Nunu, who is calling on government to roll out targeted measures for fisherfolk and people living along the coast to ensure social distancing is observed. JoyNews' checks in most fishing communities in the country reveal there is no social distancing as directed by health experts. At the Albert Bosomche Sam Fishing Harbour in Sekondi, for instance, the use of face masks, washing of hands and the use of sanitizers are almost non-existent. Watch this.
The people, there are many. Because this is when we're talking about social distance, you can see how the people are flirting. They can see them. Ah, okay.
So that's those are scenes coming to you from Takoradi there, filmed by somebody. You see what's happening there. Some people are wearing the masks, others are not, but people are in very close proximity with one another. In fact, most of the fisher folk, those you find on your right, for example, are not wearing the masks. Well, with Ghana's COVID-19 case count at 1,154. There are fears that crowded communities like you just saw are at greater risk. Professor Nunu tells JoyNews a change in fishing practice and education, among others, can change things.
In our part of the world, a lot of the fishing activities are manual. And so from their accommodation, where they live, especially the small-scale fisheries, where the fishermen live is in some sort of shanty towns, slums, etc. So right away from their home activities, they are in groups, and it's difficult to distance. When they come to the beach, it's the same. When they go fishing, it's the same. It's a worrying scenario, and it needs a lot of innovative measures for the social distancing thing to be applied in the fisheries sector. Meetings can be held with them in their own town halls and at the beaches. The district assembly can come in, the fisheries commission can come in, and their own chief fishermen and their own associations can come in, and meetings held with them to try and, one, use a rooster system where people will go to sea in a staggered manner. So they will have a departure time and arrival time in a staggered manner, so that all of them will not come and arrive in large numbers, for people to aggregate in large numbers. In the same way, fish processors who are coming to buy the catch, almost every boat has got a fish mummy or an associated woman who takes charge of the catch. So these fish mummies can be well assigned to each boat, so that the crowd or ordinary persons like you and I do not crowd to go and buy the fish, so that these fish mummies will meet the boats on arrival and receive the fish, and then arrange a sell-out mechanism that will be easy to keep the social distance. Another way out would be to some of the gears, especially the drag nets. The drag nets are used in aggregation. A number of them will have to pull. Everything is done manually. We don't have the winch and others on the small-scale canoes. So for now, the ministry and the Fisheries Commission can come in and ban the use of these drag nets. The drag nets like pear seed, the drag net like beach stain, the one that is pulled at the beach. These ones can be banned for.
So let's get some responses from the Fisheries Ministry. Was there a plan? If there was, what is it? Michael Arthur Darcy is Executive Director for the Fisheries Commission. He joins me via Zoom. Mr. Darcy, thank you for your time this afternoon.
You are most welcome.
Okay, so share with us, was there a plan to ensure social distancing at the coast among fisher folk and the buyers?
Thank you very much. Apparently, we have series of programs put in place to complement the existing programs that we have been implementing through our regional directors and the zonal offices. Since the outbreak of the pandemic, if you may recall, the closure never covered fishes. And if it never covered fishes, then invariably the Ministry of Fisheries and Agriculture Development and the Fisheries Commission and the staff therein, we also took steps to ensure that we continued with whatever we were doing. Apart from what the Fisheries Enforcement Unit is implementing through beachcombing and visits to the various landing beaches, we have drawn up another program which we are going to roll out. One, we want to go to the aid of the fishermen and the fish processors by trying to get them some hand sanitizers and face masks. If you listen to what Professor Nunu said, and even the footage, we realized that at the Bosumichi-Sam landing beach, we saw a few people with face masks, which goes to buttress the fact that we roll out that a support scheme, it will go a long way to support and assist the fishers and the fish processors. Apart from that, we also would want to enhance our education programs. What we are going to do is to go to the coastal regions and the coastal districts, go to the various radio stations and enhance our education programs. We also have mobile communication vans that as come next week, we are going to roll them out into the various landing beaches to increase education. As the last speaker rightly said, it has to do with education. You know, when you go to the fishing communities, the population is very thick, and people are moving from their homes, which are very close to the beaches, to the landing sites or to the beach to carry out their fishing expedition and fishing activities. So we need to enhance that. So these are some of the measures that Ministry of Fisheries and Agriculture Development and the Fisheries Commission have put in place to complement what we have been doing already. Okay.
Speaking of which, you've indicated that your next week you are starting with the communication vans, but you haven't given us any timelines as far as providing sanitizers and face masks are concerned. Also, the enhanced education at the coastal areas through local radio stations. What is the timeline? And when you say next week, exactly which day in next week does it start?
Coming Monday, we'll deploy the vans. Central region, they already have the van there.
Okay.
So the regional director and the staff, they have rolled out a program. Western region, we will have a van in head office here in Accra. We'll dispatch the van to Western region. And then we are also using the radio stations. Before the headquarters team will be join the regional directors, they are going to start effective radio station to radio station programs. I'm leading a team to Western and Central region. And then my deputy is leading a team to Volta and Greater Accra region. And we are dispatching other people to the inland landing sites.
Okay. And
with regard to the input support, like the face masks and the sanitizers,
right?
We are putting in place the procurement process. You know what the whole thing is about. We are looking at huge numbers and quantities that may require going through public procurement to seek approvals or here and there. So we are trying our best. In the meantime, those procurement that could be within my threshold, I'll get the clearance from the board and from the minister, and then we'll do those procurement whilst we look at the bigger picture and go through the procurement process.
So if I may ask, just if I may, why has it taken this long? I mean, COVID-19 has been with us for some time. Even if you start counting from the day we recorded cases, that will be in March. It's well over a month now. Why has it taken so long for the Fisheries Commission to put together all of these and start? So for example, when it comes to communication, you are now starting next week. Why?
No, I said we are going to enhance. It means communication has already been in place. In our various regional directorates, they have been carrying out effective campaign programs, interacting with the fishers. That is what has been in place all through. We didn't wait for COVID before we started them. And as part of our education program, we educate them on fisheries laws, we educate them on matters touching on illegal, unreported, unregulated fishing. So many things. So the advent of COVID, we just had to include COVID education programs in our already existing programs. So that's what I'm saying. Now,
so hang on, Mr. Dadzie, if I could just come in. with the communication program, you may have started already, but you just spoke about procurement processes that you have to go through to get, say, sanitizers or the face masks. I mean, you know that the process is quite cumbersome, so you could have started a bit earlier. Like I said, we've been dealing with this for much longer.
Yeah, very well. As it is very clear, that's one thing I would want to use your medium to communicate to the entire nation. You see, the pandemic was taken over from the presidency. If you may recall, it's the presidency that took charge of everything. And presidency did that with selected ministries. Information Ministry, Ministry of Health, water and sanitation.
So essentially, the fisheries ministry, the fishing ministry was not included in the initial set of ministries. That doesn't mean
that other ministries were not actually looking at variously how they could also play their roles. I believe it was strategic to ensure that ministries, department, agencies do not make statements, don't make public statements that may either contradict what the government through information was going to put out there.
Very well,
so
Mr. Dazi.
Well coordinated.
Mr. Dazi, the good thing really is that you're embarking on this new drive that will see the distribution, and hopefully it does. We'll be checking on that. That will ensure that the face masks and sanitizers get to them. But I have just two final quick questions for you. Mr. Nunu, Professor Nunu indicates that there are things you can do, which you have not listed in the plan that you gave me right now. It includes staggering fishing schedules so that you know the groups that are at the various fishing sites, so that if you're dealing with their leadership, you'll be able to stagger fisheries. So if Group 1 and Group 2 will work on Monday, for example, Group 2 and Group 3 can work on the next day. Is that something you're considering?
He has professed that, and we as policymakers and implementers, we always engage our stakeholders in implementation of certain decisions. When we step out and we have interactions with the chief fishermen and the opinion leaders, and we jaw, we'll be able to fashion out something that will be demand-driven, something that they themselves will be part of the decision-making to ensure that compliance will not warrant spending huge sums of monies to guarantee compliance.
I see.
And that's something that we will consider. It's very, very important we consider that. I believe that the most important thing is social distancing, trying to avoid people.
But Mr. Dazi, that's the point. How do you social distance in a place which is naturally crowded with so many people? And that's why the recommendation is coming.
For example, we can create miniature landing sites. Let me use Cape Coast as an example. The Cape Coast Castle landing site. We can ask some of the canoe owners to land on the coastal stretch from Kweku Boys to say Ola. They can land there. When they land there, the fish processors who usually work with these canoes, well, instead of clustering at the castle area, may then relocate, because they'll communicate with them that by reason of the measures put in place by Ministry of Fisheries, Agriculture Development and the Fisheries Commission, we are not landing at Castle area. We are landing at, say, Metro Hospital.
So that's an option. That's an option you're looking at. Yes, and I'm sure that by next week, all of these things will be fashioned out properly. The final recommendation Professor Nunu makes also is that you should assign the fish mummies, who he's calling the fish mummies, to arrange onward distribution of the fish that they buy from the fisher folk when they bring it to the shore.
To arrange annual distribution?
No, to arrange with what he's calling the fish, the fish mummies, the women who usually buy, exactly, those who usually buy the fish from the fishers, that you should assign them to after you have made the schedule for the fishing, that is, if you are considering that, then you assign each of the groups to these women who buy the fish, so that when they're doing business, the place is not crowded, essentially?
No, apparently the various fishing companies, fishing groups have their fish processors who patronize their catch. They have their fixed fish processors who are tied to various fishing companies.
Okay.
So that is something that, with greatest respect, is not feasible. But I believe that with the creation of temporary landing sites, they will follow their crew or their canoes to where we have designated them to land.
All right.
That in itself will lead to social distancing.
We'll see how that works.
Another measure we can put in place as part of the education, those who also come to patronize the fish from these fish processors, we can arrange a system where the fish processors can reach them in their various homes. It is something that we'll judge with them to explore the possibility of they carrying out that activity.
Mr. Dadzie, next week we'll come to you and we'll see how the plan is going on the ground. Thank you so much for your time this afternoon. I've been talking to the Executive Director of the Fisheries Commission, Michael Arthur Dadzie. Well, this is the right time to push for non-custodial sentencing of criminals. Well, that's according to Director of Prisons in charge of operations at the Ghana Prison Service, Isaac Kofi Ejuru. The director was speaking on the sidelines of the National Disinfection Exercise, which took place on Thursday, 23rd of April, 2020 at the prison's headquarters in Accra and James Camp Prison. Isaac Kofi Ejuru said protocols are still being improved for maximum response time from COVID-19 team in case of any infection emergencies.
I would like to, on behalf of the Director General and the staff and inmates of Ghana Prison Service, extend our sincere appreciation to the organizers of this fumigation and disinfection exercise. It's very important. I see it for both precautionary measures and ensuring healthy environment for us to work. Taking these precautionary measures has given us the confidence to be able to work in a healthy environment, to be able to fight this problem of COVID-19. This is the headquarters of the Ghana Prison Service, where we have about 86 offices. And then the barracks adjoining the head office have all been disinfected. And that is a very good news for us. It's important to go to other facilities because whatever happens in those facilities has rippling effects on the entire system. We have officers who work at those facilities but come to headquarters to transact business. So to disinfect headquarters and leaving those places out will not be too good. So there's a need to have a holistic approach in solving the problem. So it's very important for you also to get to the Buster institution. We also have prison. That's why we have the juvenile institution and then the training school. So it's very important for us to go and disinfect those areas also. We in the Ghana Prison Service have been strong advocates for quick passage of the law that regulates non-custodial sentences. And I think this is the right time that we all put our hands together to get it passed quickly, as quickly as possible, to save the situation. We have made our inputs, and the input has gotten to the appropriate authorities, and it's being worked on. I know for sure that Attorney General is working seriously on the bill.
Well, he admits that prisons in the country are currently overcrowded and below superior standards in managing social distancing. Listen.
It's a fact that the prisons are overcrowded, and therefore maintaining social distances is not at its best as we have wanted it to be. But as an institution, we are trying our best to ensure that all the other protocols are adhered to strictly to be able to prevent any outbreak of the disease in our prisons. Stringent steps are being taken to ensure or minimize the chances of outbreak. As you said, we provide all prisons with sanitizers, barrier buckets to be washing their hands frequently, and more importantly, educate both officers and inmates to stay away from activities that will expose them to the dangers of the diseases.
You do know that I have company by now, right? So are you wearing your face masks? Well, the Greater Accra Regional Security Council has directed banks, malls, commercial transport and other service providers not to admit persons who refuse to wear face masks. The Security Council has also directed assemblies within the region to set up satellite markets to decongest the heavily populated existing markets. Regional Minister Ishmael Ashite, who also chairs the council, will join us for some more on these measures shortly. As you can see there, he is already there waiting for us. First, though, let's take you to the CMB market in Accra Central Business District, where social distancing is a big problem there. My colleague Mamiesi Nyamiche Thompson just returned from that market, and she joins me in the studio. Mamiesi, tell us what you found. You're welcome.
Yeah, so Gitfi, regrettably, most of the market women are not, adhering to the social distancing protocols. In fact, when I got there, they have been crammed in spaces on the pavement at the marketplaces, and making the work of the task force so difficult because they have to ensure that they have to, have physical distancing in between them. But when I got there this morning, it looked like the education we've been doing continuously has made very little impact on them. And so I spoke to some of the market women who have been telling me why they cannot observe the social distancing protocols because they have no space. Otherwise, they should relocate them to, bigger spaces.
Okay, we can listen to them now.
Number 7. I
have 7 children and I sell here to feed them. I have become the breadwinner since their father died. Where else can I go from here? I cannot feed them if they continue beating us. Tell me, where can I go?
I'm a single mother. I came to Accra to do business. Anytime I set up here, the tax force chases us out. Because of that, it is affecting our business, and my children are also going hungry at home. Just recently, I was beaten. I had to stay at home. I only came back today, and they beat me up today too.
And then the 4th day,
today is the 4th day since the president lifted the restriction on movement. But since we came here, the police keep beating us. Why?
So those are some of the traders there speaking to Mamiesi. Mamiesi, they talk about how the task force members are physically abusing them. What else do they say?
Well, they're also saying that they need, essentially, what they're telling us is they need to be relocated to satellite markets because where they are is too congested, but they can't do anything about it and they have nowhere else to go. Yeah.
We can listen to them on that too.
The traders have come in their numbers and are obviously not observing the social distancing protocols, so we are planning on relocating them to satellite markets close to Abuja and Nima stations, so they are not crowded here.
So that's actually a member of the task force indicating that the request for relocation is something that they're working on.
They are considering, yes. And they're also working on some kind of numbering system where they can give the traders numbers that they can control the numbers that come into the market at particular times.
Okay.
Aside, relocating some also to satellite markets.
We've seen some markets do this and it's working. We'll find out. We do have the man in charge. We'll go to him, the regional minister, to find out what the plan is on that as well. Mamiesi, thank you so much. But you indicated one key thing. I wanted to say that again because we'll be engaging with the National Civic Education, Commission of Civic Education, that education doesn't seem to have gone down well.
Exactly.
Over there.
Yeah. So in the market, I realized that we are always telling them to, do social distancing and also wear their nose masks, and as well, use the hand sanitizers. but they are not doing it.
They're not doing it.
Many of them. And I didn't even see, Veronica buckets where they are even washing their hands.
Okay.
On it.
Veronica buckets, which is something very basic, something that we can easily do.
But you realize that the spaces in the market are congested already. And this is by the pavements.
Okay.
This is not even in the market proper.
Okay.
This is by the pavement. And so the space is even too small for them to create this.
So let's explore the issue of relocation further, among others. Mamesi, thank you for that update. Mamesi Nyamiche Thompson just came from the CMB, joining me there with that one. Mamesi, thank you once again. I do have the Greater Accra Regional Minister, Ishmael Ashite, on the new measures being introduced in Accra to address the spread of the virus. So, sir, thank you very much for your time this afternoon. First of all, tell us about the decision to make the wearing of masks, face masks, compulsory.
Yes, well, we had a meeting with the MMDEs, and a decision was taken that to be able to control the COVID-19, the public, people who comes out must be wearing face mask, and then we must also try as much as possible to adhere to the social distancing protocol. And well, it came out that the MMDCs may be needing the assistance of the security services to be able to do some of these things. So we went to a Regional Security Council meeting, and a decision was taken that wearing of face or nose face masks is mandatory in the Greater Accra region. Everybody who wants to come out to do business in the public space must wear face mask. That was one of the decisions that was taken yesterday.
Sure, compliance. Is there a plan? And you want to share that with us?
Yes. Yes, the security services were at that meeting, and they promised to assist the MMDAs, especially the MMDCs, to be able to see to the compliance of this directive. The MMDCs will be leading in the monitoring and making sure that people comply. And when they need assistance of the police or the military, they will let them know. But the intention is to prevent people who are not wearing face masks from doing business with public offices. If you come to my office and you want to come and discuss a program or a business with any office in my office, you must be wearing a face mask. Otherwise, they will not even allow you to climb the stairs and come up to do that business. So I think we believe that is enough deterrent for people who want to do business to be wearing face masks.
Regarding
as the president said, those who have nothing to do must stay at home. You must only come out when there is the need for you to come out and do something that is very, very important.
So regarding the way that the security agencies are going to help enforce this directive, are they going to be around in a way that we saw when we were in lockdown? Will we see military officers outside?
No, it's not going to be the same. It is the MMDAs that will be doing the work, but the police will be giving them the necessary assistance. So when maybe there's some group of people or some members of the public are creating problems, then they will call them to come and bring peace and order to the area.
Okay, let's deal with case number 2. You speak about creation of satellite markets by the MMDAs to decongest the main markets in the Greater Accra region. My colleague just came from the CMB, and she's saying that the place is overcrowded. We saw that in the video as well. A lot of people have said we should have done this before. I mean, we should have had this plan before lifting the lockdown, as in before the lockdown was lifted. Do tell us which other places are we looking at relocating other people in the markets?
Yes, we did it. We asked people to, especially the MMDAs, to open up satellite markets. Okay. And I always use Tema as an example. In Tema, we have the Akojo Park where we have sent people who are selling fruits and vegetables to go and trade. And they are there. When you go there, you see that there is enough space between people who are trading. Then we send the people who are selling grains like rice, maize, and others to the Chidasi Park. And there is enough space between these people who are doing business there. And then we kept people who are selling fish and then meat in the main market. And also that spacing was provided. So we started with that. And you know, what happened was that it was only people who were selling food who were in the market those days. But now that the lockdown is open, many people are coming in. And that is forcing us to, or making it necessary for us to have other markets. That is why those who have not been able to open many of that satellite markets, we are asking them to do so now.
Okay, so what I want to understand is that, like you gave us the picture of Tema, it is extremely clear to me, and I'm sure to my viewers as well, that in Tema, if you want to buy fish, you need to go to the main market. If you want to buy fruits, you need to go to the Akojo market. If you want to buy rice, for example, you need to go to the Chidasi Park. So it's very clear. But in the Central Business District, what is the plan?
Yes, that is where we are having problems. Even I was shown a video where in the night people were trading. Yeah. And when I spoke to the mayor, he told me that he hasn't got the capacity to stop that. And that is why I took the decision to take the issue to the RESEC to seek the assistance of the police and the other security services. Right. You know, Accra is a very big area, and we're supposed to have these challenges. So the military and the police have accepted the challenge that they are going to assist us to be able to bring sanity. I've been told that the Accra House of Folk Park have been selected for people to go and sell vegetables. And some other places, I don't know yet. Tomorrow, okay. I myself, I will be going around to inspect what is happening at the various markets. But the MMDCs have been instructed to open satellite markets all over the place, okay, so that we can decongest the main markets. I believe that with time, perhaps from tomorrow, we'll have a clearer idea. Between tomorrow and next week, we'll have a clearer idea. And I think that the people of Accra will be very grateful if they will have a clear idea where to get what, like we can see in Tema. It looks to me like those are things that maybe tomorrow you have to join us when we are going, and we will see what is happening, and if there is a need for us to revise our decision, we'll do so. Right. I mean, that's quite separate from the creation of the satellite markets. We want to have an idea, a clearer idea what a satellite market looks like and what to get, where to get what. And that's what I was saying I believe will be clear to us in the coming days. But there's also another issue about installation of public address systems. One thing that my colleague reported from the market is that it looks like we have done a lot of talking, but the people in the markets don't seem to really get it. They're underestimating this disease. What is the communication plan going forward? Sorry, I didn't get you very well.
I'm asking for the communication plan for public education. My colleague is reporting from the Central Business District that a lot of the market women, I should say, are not, don't seem to have the public education they should have. They don't seem to understand. They seem to be underestimating the risks involved in COVID-19. And your press release has a part that talks about installation of public address systems in the markets to educate the traders. I want you to break it down for us. What is the communication plan for the public education?
During the lockdown, I went around 3 markets. That is Nungwa, Teshi, and then La. And I realized that all of them have got public address systems in the market. Even at Nungwa, they have a local FM station at the market. Okay. So we realize that, well, if they can use those systems to address the people, they may understand the issues very well. Because I went there, I went to the Nungwa station, and I was able to tell them the way they should be sitting. Those who were selling, some of them were wearing nose mask. But those who were buying were not wearing nose masks. So I spoke to them to understand that all of them, those who are purchasing and those who are selling, must be wearing nose masks. They have those systems available. And then the MMDs have also got public address vans that they could use. So where there is no public address system at the market, they can use their vans to give the education. And if necessary, if the assembly find it very necessary, then they can provide a public address system for a market that is within their jurisdiction.
Very well. 2 quick ones before we wrap it up, Mr. Ashite. There is also a directive that commercial drivers are to ensure that their passengers wear face masks before they admit them on board. How are we going to implement this?
Yes, we met with the GPRTU, the Accra branch, and the discussion came out that, well, they believe that the social distancing within the vehicle is not being achieved because making one person sitting here, one person, the distance between the two is not up to the 6 feet that we are asking for. So they also believe that nose masks will be able to assist in a way. Their problem is who is to provide the nose masks. So luckily for them, the MMDCs were in a meeting at that time. So we got them and directed that they must provide some nose masks to the GPRTUs at their various jurisdictions. Okay. But in any case, if you are coming from your house and you can afford a nose mask, I think it is up to you to buy one. It is better to spend 5 cedis or 2 cedis to buy a nose mask rather than to go to hospital and, excuse me to say, maybe go and die. So those who can afford should buy it, and those who cannot afford, the ones that will be given to the GPRTU, they can pick one and use. Okay. But those ones will be these disposable ones. You use it once and you cannot use it again. So I will advise that anybody who can afford a nose mask should try as much as possible to get one.
Okay, and when is the GPRTU getting the face mask, the free face masks, and from who exactly? Sorry, I missed that.
Yes, they spoke to me just this morning. We have already directed the MMDCs to get the face mask. But the Ministry of Trade, in collaboration with some companies, are producing. Alain Tremantin said he's producing about 3 million pieces of face masks. So we have directed the MMDCs to go to Ministry of Trade and get the face mask as early as possible so that they can give to the GPRTU. I have also talked to them that they should contact, they went this morning and the face masks were not available. But I asked them by close of work they should go back to the assemblies, and I'm sure they will be getting the face masks for their job.
Great, great. My final one is no face mask, no entry. That's a directive you're asking people to have in their shops. Who is supposed to do this? Is it the MMDAs that are supposed to go around ordering companies to put that tag on? Or, I mean, how is it supposed to work?
Yes, it has already started working. I was informed that this morning the people working with the Amasaman Assembly, together with the police, are moving from shop to shop, asking them to put that notice in front of their shop. It is for their own good. If you don't want to get this sickness, then people can come and buy. But when they come, they should be wearing those masks. So I learned in the Amasaman area, they have started. And we have communicated this to all the MMDCs that it is up to them to make sure that all shops, malls, pharmacies, any public place that is available in their locality must be advised to put that notice, so that people should be wearing those masks before. If you are not allowed to enter when you are not wearing nose masks, I think people will be forced to wear nose masks before they go there. Let's see how it works. Thank you so much, sir, for your time this afternoon. I've been speaking to Mr. Ashmal Ashite. She's the Greater Accra Regional Minister there. And as you know, the Office of the Regional Coordinating Council for Greater Accra Region today has put out some directives, and that's what he was taking us through. If you don't wear face masks, they're ordering shops and other offices to stop you from coming to transact business there. I'm going to take a break, but before I do that, let's look at a related development where the Center for Strategic and Defense Studies Africa is embarking on a face mask for all campaign. Now they want government to boost the production of face masks and sanitizers and make them free, mandatorily free and available to all Ghanaians. Programs Officer of the CSDS, I beg your pardon, Africa, Adam Spiel, is joining me via Zoom. Mr. Spiel, thank you for your time this afternoon. You've heard at least the Greater Accra Regional Minister say that they're taking the receipt of some face masks from the Trade Ministry to share within Accra. Does that suffice for you?
It's a very big win, to be very honest with you, because we at the CSDS Africa team, we realized that we needed a draft guideline to show the government the way to go forward for face masks, because it's the first line of defense in terms of protecting me from getting the virus and even protecting yourself from getting the virus. So to us here at the team, it's a big win.
It's a big win, but that's just for Accra. How do you intend to get this campaign that you're running through throughout the country to be actually successful?
Okay, so we'll keep advocating, and we'll advocate not just through the document, but through our Face Masks for All campaign. So the CSDS Africa team embarked on producing face masks on a large scale, free for all, because we believe that everyone needs to have a face mask. You can't go into a public space without a face mask. Just like the directive which was issued today, if you go into a public space without a face mask, you will not be granted service. So for us, that is exactly how we see it. And we'll keep pushing. Hopefully through our Face Masks for All campaign, which will not just Accra, which will be Kumasi and all the other regions in Ghana.
Face masks should be made free. Have you engaged governments to find out whether or not the budget exists to make that a reality?
Yes, please, we have. However, we believe that we need the help of corporate Ghana, benevolent individuals, and people who believe that we actually need to make a change. Yes, we want to do all of this, but we cannot produce all on our own. So we need help in the form of resources, money, contributions, and all of those things. And once the government realizes that the private sector and the civil society sector are willing to contribute, getting aid from them will not be a problem at all.
All right. Well, I hope that the response from government has been positive.
Yes, please. I mean, so far they developed, they took on board the guidelines which was developed. That was a huge one. Definitely, once we keep pushing for the call of the Face Masks for All campaign, they'll definitely take it up. And then I believe that they'll push for private for the private sector and support to come through and help them. So yeah,
all right.
They just need to sound a call and we will follow through.
Adam, thank you for your time this afternoon. Adam Spiel is a programs coordinator for the Center for Strategic and Defense Studies Africa. They're calling for governments to make masks available for free to everyone, so that we can all keep safe. You're also watching The Pulse with me, Gifty and Opia. I'm going to take a quick break. But like I said earlier, public education on COVID-19 has become one of the biggest issues to deal with right now. Several regions are complaining that education there has been abysmal. My special guest for today is the head of the National Commission for Civic Education. We'll talk about public education on COVID-19. Also, we'll hear from the Agricultural Minister, who is debunking assertions that prices of food have gone up. Well, what is your experience? Share it with me on our WhatsApp platform. I'll be back shortly. Do stay. Welcome back to the show. Once I put this on, you know that I have company, right? But I also have some of your messages here, and I'll take some as we go on to talk about public education. I indicated that one of the biggest issues we are beginning to realize from COVID-19 is that people are underestimating the risks involved with COVID-19. So there are complaints that people are not listening, or is it that they're not even getting the message at all? I have, like I said, my special guest for today, who's head of the National Commission for Civic Education, Ms. Josephine Nkrumah, who's already here with me in the studio. You're welcome, Ms. Nkrumah.
Thank you very much for having me. Good
afternoon. So before we go on, I just read some of your messages. I got this one that says, from what I see, everyone using okay, I'm not sure what you're trying to say, but you say everyone is not using face masks. So is it necessary for the fisher folk to observe social distancing since you're using face masks? From Nogo in Abo? Well, it is necessary for you to observe social distancing. Most of you are sending messages on the food prices, by the way. But yesterday and throughout this week, you've been sending me a lot of messages, especially from the eastern region, where you say education is extremely low. I want to hear from you if you are in these regions. But Ms. Nkrumah, it's good to have you. Very good to have you.
Yeah.
First of all, run us through quickly what the plan has been for public education on COVID-19.
Okay, so before we had any confirmed cases in Ghana, we had already begun some limited education, public education. It was usually on social media, and some of our district directors were also carrying out the social etiquette or the safety protocols regarding COVID-19. Once the disease was confirmed in Ghana, we stepped up education. But prior to that, we had also sent proposals to a number of institutions to support us by giving us funds to undertake education on the coronavirus.
Okay.
We know that coronavirus and this global pandemic suggests that the usual strategies that we employ, that involves social gathering, that involves one-on-one engagement, are all strategies that we can no longer employ. So we've shifted our focus to other strategies, basically doing a lot of public announcements using vans and public address systems, going to the lorry stations, the marketplaces where you have density of people converging and speaking to them about these issues. We've also stepped up our campaign on social media by generating educational content using audiovisuals for education on the social media front.
Okay. This afternoon, I'll just jump in there.
Yes.
We've been to the Central Business District. My colleague tells me that, and it sounded as if she herself was alarmed at the extent to which the market women there, I mean, there are men there as well, but, you know, women dominate, that the market folk don't seem to appreciate the times we're in at all. Do you have a specific plan for dense areas specifically, you know, starting from the Central Business District? If not, what can we do now that we've realized at least that something is wrong there?
Well, I think firstly we must establish that as a people we are very communal in our lifestyle. And so trying to change this, of course, will take a while. But these are times where every minute counts, so we don't have the luxury of time. And therefore, when it comes to the markets, we still go to the markets a lot. We've gone to the markets to educate them on social distance, but the feedback has always been, where do you want me to sit? This is where I always sell. If you tell me to move 2 meters away, basically you're going to deprive another person from his or her space at that market, and it will mean driving quite a number of people out of the market who won't be able to sell their wares.
That will create another set of chaos.
That will create another set of chaos. I'm happy, for instance, that we have things like directives coming for us to use face masks. That somewhat would diminish the risk of getting infected by other persons who have the coronavirus. So those are the challenges that we encounter on the field.
Okay, speaking of the field, I will come back to the challenges, but speaking of the field, I'm seeing some pictures here. These must be some of your people trying to engage. But we don't really see social distancing going on there.
That is true.
Tell us a bit more about these trips that you take.
So these trips, most of the pictures are countrywide. So depending on where they are and the groupings they're meeting, you would see them either close to the people or educating from the field, from the cars and on the roads. Social distancing has been our greatest challenge, trying to get them to understand that social distancing is essential. In fact, as you can see, sometimes when I've seen some of these pictures from my staff, I've called them and say, why are you standing in close proximity to the next person? We want to see you further away. We have to begin to practice what we preach. The challenge is people come close to you. So as you're telling them to move away, they are coming closer to you. So that is one of the basic challenges that
maybe
we have.
Your men should start wearing, dressing up like they're at the treatment center.
And I think that it's important. Our messaging goes to explain to them the reason why we have social distancing.
Okay.
So it's not just about telling them you should stand X meters away from your next person, but letting them understand that it diminishes or reduces the risk of you contracting the disease from a next person. See the next person as suspicious. See yourself as suspicious. That is the only thing that enables you to be conscious enough to take precautions, not only guard yourself, but also protect the next person from contracting the disease or contracting it from the next person.
Okay, so speaking about face masks and the directives that are coming in, this message is coming from, the person, sorry, doesn't write her name, says, can there be more education on how to wear the face masks?
Yes.
I see a lot of people wearing it on their chin or forehead. Too bad. Is this something that you're factoring in your next chain of education?
I mean, you understand that the whole pandemic is very fluid. From one day to the next, it changes, and therefore our messaging also changes. So as at yesterday, we're looking at the FDA requirements for certification and all of that, and we are putting together some audio visuals on how to properly put on your mask, take it off, and of course educating people on what are the indications that this mask is a good mask or otherwise. We are, as a commission, we're very worried about the number of masks you see on the streets of Accra. Every next hawker is now selling the mask, and so it creates this false sense of security, and that is very worrying for us. And so we hope that by Monday our visuals should be out, educating Ghanaians, and also giving my officers on the field the needed equipment to also begin to use that to demonstrate how to put on a mask and how to take the mask off, because that in itself, even though it is meant to protect, can end up being a conduit for the spread.
Okay, so before we wrap up the show, I have the conversation. I have a couple of messages here. Let's see if we can go through them. It says, hi Gifty, I'm in Adidome. I tell you, our education is very, very poor. What has been the situation in the Volta region?
The Volta region has also, you know, the Church of Pentecost lent some buses to us, some minivans to us for our education. And so largely that is what we've depended on in each region to carry out education. We've had some support from some of the district assemblies as well, who have also lent their vehicles to us to carry on education. But I think we don't have enough of those items, so of those logistics. So if I come to one community, it takes me a long time to come back there. But this is a lifestyle change, and it demands repeated and sustained education. That is something that we haven't been able to do, because the logistics are so limited that it will take a long while to come back to one place. So if you miss education, of course, it may take you weeks to come back to hearing. And so we are stepping up our conversation on social media, our conversation on media platforms, the local FM stations, the community radio networks. So you see that a lot of our staff also go there. In fact, some of the things they do first thing in the morning before they go out onto the field. So that is what we're doing now. Let
me go through the messages I have here. But essentially, the NCCE doesn't have enough money. That's the plain.
I think I am happy to share.
I'll come to that. Okay. I'll come to that. I just want to read. But but that's the truth. I mean, all organizations in this country don't have money anyway. But let me just read the messages I have here. It says, I don't really understand our leaders of this country. They were able to distribute free food during the partial lockdown, so they should come and do same with nose masks and hand sanitizers. From Mex Berlin in New Takrady. Thank you for sending your message. But as we have not had any alert that there's going to be free masks, please buy one if you can. It's also about your own protection, which is your responsibility. This one says, I wanted to know when a directive will come that pregnant nurses should be allowed to stay home. Okay, I learned some hospitals are saying they don't have any letter authorizing them. Okay, well, I'm hearing from my producers that most of them are already home. Pregnant nurses are already home. If you are not, maybe you want to speak to the regional health directorate, and let's see that. Let me see if I can point out the specific questions for the NCCE. This one is saying that it looks like the education is given on these issues are not enough. People around my area said there is nothing like COVID-19. All they say is that government is concocting the news. We want more education. Maxwell from Pandai. And you know that I asked about the Volta region. We got one from Adidome, and we are getting one from Pandai as well. People are underestimating it. Let me see if there are more than you respond to those ones.
As you go on, maybe I can just share that the Volta region, I think the northern region as well, the biggest challenge to education for us there has been the misinformation and the lack of the disbelief about all of this. We don't want to get to the stage that we saw in Italy or in Spain or in America, but because you're not seeing the suffering and what it entails, people just can't connect to the illness. There's a total disconnect because they're not actually seeing the devastating effect of COVID-19. All they hear is they say there is an illness.
So in that way, can NCCE come in with a plan that makes it visible for them what is happening in other countries? If you take Ecuador, for example, people are having to keep their dead relatives in their living rooms. Is there a plan like that?
Yes, we are looking at collating some videos in which we can share on the media, traditional media, use social media as well for people to understand the reality of what is occurring and to actually say we don't want to get to this point and therefore we need to take the steps right now to protect all of us. It is not the work of government only. Each and every one of us has a duty to do what he or she can to protect himself and protect your neighbor.
I think I'm coming to funding now. This text says some of the COVID-19 trust fund money should be used to support the NCCE. I have more, just a second. I saw one, okay. Says Gifty, I think the NCCE is doing well in terms of education because I believe they are working within the logistics they have. It's left to us Ghanaians to also adhere to the directives given. Pakwesi in Amfuega. Most of you are testing from the Volta region. Interesting. I wonder why. Keep watching. But if you're testing from anywhere, if you're watching from anywhere and you have a question or you have a suggestion for the NCCE, let's hear it. We have their boss here. Let's talk about funding.
Okay, before I talk about funding in a minute, we should understand that Ghanaians have largely, we've become an indisciplined society. And that goes a long way to determine how effective education is. Let's take what happened during the lockdown. Despite the lockdown, and even before lockdown, despite the president's directive on a ban on social gathering beyond 25 people, we saw what was happening. When you have security agencies on the streets of the lockdown areas saying to you, go home, and people, despite this, people are going out. It begins to tell you that we have huge, serious underlying challenges that we need to confront head on. And I think that is also one of the reasons why people are saying that, well, the education is not going down well because people are still doing it. Ghanaians don't understand that we have laws, our laws work, and they must be made to work. I said on one of the recent media interviews that, for instance, when we saw people flouting these laws, the Imposition of Restrictions Act, what did we do? There was nothing available for us to tell that these people were taken to task, they were prosecuted, and they suffered consequences for these things. So when you don't hear these things, it also emboldens people to think that, well, somebody did it and got away with it. I can also do it. At best, what they'll say, don't do it again, or it becomes a foolish case. And that is one of our big challenges that we're having. For funding, it's true, we've had serious challenges with funding, with logistics constraints. This year, for instance, we haven't received any money at all from the government of Ghana.
The whole year? The
whole year.
How much were you entitled to in the budget?
This year, for our budget, our goods and services budget was 7 million.
7 million cedis. And you've not received even 1 cedi?
We haven't received a cedi.
Why? Any explanations? Have they given you?
No, everything is on the GIFMIS systems and the processes have been duly executed on our end. What is left with is releases for, so we're in Q2 basically, and we haven't received it. So all we've been able to share with our staff is 100 cedis per district to undertake.
Hold on, what did you just say?
Yes, you just heard me right. 100 cedis.
100 cedis per district?
Yes.
For what?
And we sent the 100 cedis just for them to buy sanitizers and masks or gloves where available. So that is a major challenge for me, that day in, day out, my staff are on the ground carrying out civic education, and there is nothing to protect them. But I'm very happy.
But hang on,
you know, like the good news.
No, I don't get it. We're talking about education, which is
pivotal.
Exactly, and that's. I mean, communication is the way that we get this thing. We get people to hear even that there is a disease. So. Usually, how soon do you get your money? I mean, this is we're in April, right?
That's the third.
So typically, you'd have received your money in the first or second. Second?
Usually by the second month of the first quarter, we should be receiving something.
But
it's usually not a lot. But this year, we haven't received it. But
have you engaged?
Yes, I mean, all that we need to do, you have a budget, you know the processes you have to follow for you to get your releases. We've done our part, the money has not been released to us. But you see, the important thing is that we're not sitting idle. We're not saying that because we haven't received money, we're just waiting for money to come. We were proactive. Before we had our first confirmed case, we submitted proposals to agencies of state to look at it and support us in anticipation of COVID-19 touching the shores of Ghana. Nothing came out of it. We have actually started work. Listen, what you see on the TV, a lot of it is with the kind courtesy of the Church of Pentecost. The Church of Pentecost gave us some of the advance to enable us carry out civic education. So we've had 12 vans for the Church of Pentecost, 10 in each of the old regions, and 2 in Accra, the Greater Accra and Ashanti region, which are deemed to be the epicenters of COVID-19 in Ghana. And the Church of Pentecost not only did that, they also gave us fuel. So they fuel the vans for us, they pay the drivers for us, and we go. So as the picture you see, for instance, is a Church of Pentecost van, and that is one of our members of staff carrying out civic education. About a couple of weeks ago, we were fortunate enough to get fuel from Shell, Vivo Energy Ghana. They are supplying fuel to our Western region district offices as well. We had some support also from Angel Group of companies. They donated some cartons of sanitizers to Ashanti region, and in the Ahafo region, the Asunafo Farmers Cooperative donated 2,000 cedis to our regional office, in which we shared 200 per district to enable them engage in civic care. So you see my staff there. Do you see any of them wearing any protective equipment? No, nothing. And so every day I sit down and I worry, and I'm constantly saying, be careful, be careful. You know,
I mean, when it comes to PPEs, there are several donations. Has the NCCE received any?
Nothing.
Not from government?
Nothing from
Not
government.
even from private companies?
No, no. We, like I said, we had sanitizers from the Angel Group of companies for our Ashanti regional office. But Gifty, I'm happy to say that we are getting some positive indications from the Office of the President as at this afternoon.
Which is?
That suggests that we would be getting some PPEs. They will find a way of ensuring that our logistic challenges are addressed.
You know, when you said you have had some positive news from the presidency, I was hoping that you're going to say that the money is coming tomorrow or the money is coming next week.
We only heard it this afternoon. So we believe very strongly that the government is committed to the cause of COVID-19 and you know, doing everything it can to fight COVID-19. And now that it's come to their attention and there's been indication that they're going to support the commission, we hope that in the next week or so we should see some positive steps, and then it will allow us to engage effectively, enhance civic education, intensify it, and hope to make the change that we so crucially need to fight this disease.
Let me just read some of the messages I have. This texter says, no funding to such a critical agency this year. Such poor governance must be exposed. Well, let's focus more on the problem and how we can deal with it. Good evening, Gifty. This one says, an honorable NCCE boss, Minna Hunter of Edubiase, is texting, the NCCE has become redundant in nature when it comes to sensitization of public on so many issues, even before COVID-19. The issue here is, why are they not being proactive and patriotic enough, especially within this pandemic situation, but rather rely on government? The nationals of this land are becoming selfish, and only God can save us. Thank you.
I think I want to respond to that comment. I think it's a very unreasonable and unfair comment to pass, considering that we haven't received any funding, but we are still working. And I think that it's important that before people mimic this refrain every time NCC is not working, they should take the time to find out what actually is happening. If you take the time to go on our website, you will see so many pictures and videos that show you what we're doing. If you take the time to go on our social media handles, it will tell you same. And if you take the time to listen in to various local FM stations and whatnot, you will hear that, in fact, we are doing the best we can under the circumstances. And
let me read
should be my officers really should be commended for the yeoman's job that they're doing.
Which is what message someone has sent in. It says, what Madam Nkrumah is saying is very true about the underfunding of NCCE. I have a friend who uses part of his salary to do education, even before COVID-19 in the Bono region. Institutions like them deserve to be taken care of. So someone has answered that the previous text for you. Okay, says, please, if I may ask, Gifty, our mothers don't understand what is going on, but they have just failed to adhere to instructions. Why is it that places we think the education hasn't gotten to, we will find people still wearing masks? So others are wearing masks in the same places that people are not. Our security should work. Prince is sending us from Obuasi Council Quarters. It's as if I may ask, you and your are you and your department? Okay, I'm not really getting that message, but the first one that you sent, I understand clearly. Okay, looks like I read this one. Let me see. Okay, this one just says, so the messages, I've asked people to send us messages on what they are getting in the markets, because there's also the markets conversation that we should have. So it's quite mixed up, and I'm trying to get the NCCE related ones. Okay, let's see, this one is one of them. I'm watching live, okay, inside Hohoi from Francis. Enemies are not God, he says. Okay, says, won't it be good if the NCCE engages institutions like agric departments in the COVID-19 education, as they have their staff in almost every community? Parkwesi Namfwega.
I did indicate that the NCC is collaborating a lot with district assemblies, and so for some of our districts that don't have vehicles, the district assembly has made a vehicle available to them, and there's in some cases fuel in the vehicle for them to carry out education. So the district assembly collaboration and the relationship between our officers and the district assembly has been phenomenal in shoring up the kind of work we ought to do. Okay, this one says, education in Kumbungo district in the northern region is very difficult for the nurses working here. Some people say they don't see anything on TV to serve as evidence. This is the northern region. For the nurses? To serve as, no, so the work for the nurses is becoming difficult because people don't seem to appreciate the times we're in. Is it the issues around stigmatization? No, he doesn't really say anything. He just says education in Kumbungo district in the northern region. As I said to you earlier, you know, we've had these vans, and there's only so far they can go in a day and then come round again. So if we had more vehicles, it enables us to reach out to the people, for it to be more sustained, repeated, so that the message gets down to the people. So the moment we have more vehicles, we have fuel, I'm sure that people will be hearing a lot more from us. Okay. Says you will be marveled at the work NCCE does. Despite their inadequate budgetary allocations, they need adequate funding because they are capable of educating the public on mitigating on mitigating the effect of the pandemic. Charlotte is sending this from Dansuman. What advice did the chair of NCCE give to the president? Okay, can you give to the president if given the chance? Well, I think we all know that education in these times cannot at all be underestimated. And given that education has a huge role to play in combating COVID-19, the adequate resources that the Commission needs must be urgently supplied to them to enable us as a Commission to work effectively. And I think when we understand that lifestyle changes and our attitudes contribute largely to fighting COVID-19 or COVID-19 defeating us is a matter of education, we would be able to address the issue of COVID-19. Yes. Razak is texting from Wenchi. Razak says the governments must pay attention to the NCCE. I did my national service there, and I can attest that they do more with their meager resource. Razak, I'm sure she's very happy to hear you text. Madam Nkrumah is very right. Successive governments have not been fair to the Commission at all. All right, thanks for sending in this one as well. Okay, most of you are asking about how you can get free face masks for your community. And we get that all the time when we go on the field. They want face masks, they want sanitizers, and they want... For free? Yes. In fact, a few of my district directors, it was aggressive. So they had to drive off. Wow. It was basically, if you're not giving us sanitizers, don't come and talk to us about education, get out of our space. Well, yes. I think that if government decides to go on a free distribution of face masks, that the NCCE could be one of the critical institutions they could work with. Certainly, since you're always going out there. Yes. This one says, it looks like the education is giving on
okay, I think I read this one already, but he's saying that please stop the Accra kind of education. Come to our area.
Oh, we don't do Accra.
Accra.
You know, the beauty of the work we do is that our district directors and officers in the districts speak the prevalent languages in the districts that they operate in. So when it comes to education, it's not about speaking English. It's about getting down to the grassroots and speaking the language they understand in order to communicate effectively.
No, I think his concern is not about the language. I think it's about the focus of the discussion and the education. He thinks that the education is focused on Accra.
No, not at all.
Okay.
Not at all.
All
not
right.
at all. It's very fairly distributed. In fact, we think that in areas where there's population density like Accra and Greater Accra, it's not even enough. We need to see more because that's where you have so many people. But in areas, perhaps in the northern regions, for instance, you see that the communities are very, widely spaced, and so you go to one location, you have to drive a long distance to get to another location. But the flip side of it is that even in areas where there's population density, one of our challenges is accessing the communities, because some of them are so densely populated, so packed that you can't go through with a vehicle. And so that also is a challenge. So we are forced to just park on the road and then speak, across to the people.
Okay.
Whereas if we had maybe a motorbike or something, it would be easier to get deeper into those communities.
We'll be wrapping up shortly. This one is texting from Norway. He's a Ghanaian living in Norway. Says, can Madam tell us why they are not getting funding from government, and also ask her to give us their social media platforms? Is the commission an autonomous institution?
Yes.
So 3 things he's asking. Whether you are an autonomous institution, when you end with that, what are your social media platforms? How can people get on your social media platforms, and why are you not getting money?
I'm not in a position to say why we're not getting money. It's not new, but I hope that the tide changes soon. Our social media handles for Facebook is NCCGH. For Instagram, it's NCCGH1. And then for Twitter, it's again NCCEGH.
NCCEGH1?
Yes, that's for Instagram.
Okay.
And then for Facebook, it's NCCEGH.
Okay.
And then for
NCCEGH. Okay.
And for Twitter, it's the same NCCEGH.
Okay.
Yes, we are an independent governance institution, so we don't serve under any ministry as mandated or as enjoined by the commission.
Okay.
Sorry, by the constitution.
Okay.
Sorry.
The stubbornness of Ghanaians, Madam mentioned, is because NCCE constituents have not been reached, because we seem to focus on the upper and middle class, literates and the likes. She disagrees.
I totally disagree. You saw the pictures. You saw some of the pictures. We are down at the grassroots level.
Okay.
But for us, it's not just the grassroots. We must reach all segments of society. And that is why we use the different platforms to engage the different segments of society.
Okay. From day one, NCCE has been taken away from the education. The emergency response team at all district level, NCCE is out. Thinking that information department is more important than NCCE. Chris is sending that from Sunyai. How do we address this issue that Chris has brought up?
It has come to our attention that in some of the districts, indeed, NCC is not part of the core team that is fighting COVID-19 at the district level. But I must also say we've had phenomenal support from other district assemblies as well. So it is a mixture, but we believe very strongly that as we go forward, we will address these issues by constantly engaging with the district assemblies to understand that the NCC has a crucial role to play as well.
Okay. Well, we'll have to wrap up this conversation. There was a particular message that I'm looking for. There was someone who was wondering why you were happy or why you were describing the news you heard today as good news. But I didn't get the rest of the message. I just read the first line. I'm trying to find out. Maybe this is it. Says, okay, no, he's talking about is a funding. Right. He was still wondering why you're not getting the funding. She says she doesn't have the answer to that at the moment. But I'm hopeful that the appropriate institutions will hear this and get to work on that. Mr. Kumar, before we let you go, what are your final words? My final words are to let Ghanaians understand that the fight against COVID-19 is not one that is exclusively for government. It takes every single one of us to beat the disease. And so I'd urge Ghanaians to adhere to the safety protocols and etiquette. I'd urge Ghanaians that they should listen in and should seek information about COVID-19 and how to beat it, and also caution them that we should be looking for information at credible sources. The WHO, the Ghana Health Service, the Ministry of Health, some of our own media online platforms. These are critical. But finally, I'd like to speak to the issue of stigmatization, which is a creeping one for us. It is very worrying because stigmatization in itself becomes counterproductive to the fight. The moment people begin to feel that they will be stigmatized because of the disease, even when they begin to exhibit the symptoms, they will conceal it and continue to live amongst us instead of isolating. So I want to urge Ghanaians that if you stigmatize, you spread. We must begin to understand that for us to win that fight, stigmatization must be eradicated at all costs. Let's all take this disease seriously and fight it as one nation so that we come out victorious. Okay, that's a message from the NCCE. I think I found the message I was looking for. I'll wrap up with it. He says, what is the NCCE boss saying? That they have heard good news from the office of the president when the government has failed to fulfill its mandate to the NCCE. This is a total failure on the part of government. Abbas takes that from Tamale. He says, anyway, I would suggest that the government use part of the COVID-19 trust fund to get some logistics for the NCCE. Better late than never. Okay. Better late than never. Okay. So it's been great having you. Thank you for having me, for coming. It's a pleasure being here. And hopefully 100 cities, seriously, 100 cities for each district for communication. And that 100 cities is supposed to be used for hand sanitizers, really. I mean, I don't know. I'm lost for words. But if you have any support you want to give to the NCCE, I hope that, I mean, I guess this is the time to do it. And if you have is there a Momo number? Is the NCCE even allowed to do that? I don't know. Well, not this way. We usually do that with development partners. Okay. But these are difficult times, and you can decide to do that through the various offices that we have. Okay. Countrywide. Okay, so if you want to support the NCCE to do the work of education, which is key, which is really important, just call at our offices. Okay, so any of their offices, they're all over the district. NCCE offices are all over the district. I believe you can be found in any of the districts, MMDCA. Yeah, most of them are situated in the district assemblies. Okay, yes. So you can find them also on NCCEGH1. That's for Instagram. NCCEGH for Facebook and Twitter, and you can get to know more information about where you can find. And for our website, nccgh.org. nccegh.org. If you want to support the NCCE, they're working with 100 cities each district, and that they're using to buy sanitizers to educate people on the need to, for example, wear masks or to stay safe or to stay at a safe distance. It's really frustrating, but I hope that some help come very soon. Josephine Nkrumah is head of the NCCE. She's been my special guest for today. Thank you. It's been an amazing conversation. I hope we can have another someday when things are much better and there's a much and we will have positive news. Hopefully. Yes. So, if the institutions are listening to that, especially the finance ministry, because I believe that's where the money is supposed to come from, the NCCE is waiting for money so they can do much more of the work as far as education is concerned. Now let's talk about the food prices. I asked you to send me your messages of your experience on the markets, because the agriculture minister says, you know, food prices are not as expensive as people are complaining. Well, Dr. Uswefri Akoto says there are plans by government to partner foreign investors to help save the Ghana National Food Buffer Stock Company from its challenges and also to fully perform its functions. Speaking at a press briefing here in Accra on the state of food security in the country, he said the resources that the company will need to buy food surpluses are beyond the reach of government.
Buffer stock, the concept of buffer stock is to able to take away from the market during the period of surplus and release during the period of shortage. The company, which belongs to the government of Ghana through the Ministry of Food and Agriculture, has been trading for only 2 full years. And the resources that they will need to be able to buy huge quantities of surpluses are beyond the reach of the government of Ghana. So we are looking for foreign investors to come in, either to take over that company or to accompany to work with the company so they can bring in the needed working capital. If it is to work properly, we are talking about hundreds of millions of dollars worth of working capital. We don't have that kind of money. So up to now, the buffer stock company has been limited to licensing a few traders for them to bring the food items in for distribution to schools. The amount that we do to the schools is not even 15,000 metric tons of rice, of maize, of grains generally. Buffer stock in its elements for what it's been designed for has not started that role because of lack of funding. We need hundreds of millions of dollars. So we are in talks with 2 or 3 foreign companies who are interested to come and partner with us to strengthen the proper role that buffer stock should have.
The minister has also been touting the success of government's Planting for Food and Jobs program, saying it has contributed to the reduction of food prices. He's challenging persons who are making claims about high cost of food to provide evidence to back their assertions.
Only 4 years ago, a bunch of plantain in Accra, you have to spend 40 Ghana cedis. Now 3, 4 cities. And I repeat, 3, 4, 5 cities, you can get a bunch of plantain. It shows you clearly that we have come and reduced prices of food, even in the major cities like Accra, where if, because of the substantial reduction in prices in the markets, most families who could not afford 1 meal a day can now afford 3 meals a day because food is so cheap. And we continue to ensure that Planting for Food and Jobs will deliver even more food to these areas of consumption to make life very easy for families living in the consuming areas. If you make such a statement that prices on the market are high, you cannot just say that and walk away free. You have to give us the evidence which shows that prices on the market are high. And high compared to what? So I would challenge the person who made that statement to give us the evidence to show that prices on the market are high. Because the evidence that I have is exactly the opposite of what he's saying. And I have the ability to be able to give the evidence to that effect. I have over 250, nearly 300 workers around the country for my ministry, whose job is nothing but to collect prices around this country from the major markets. So when I put the information together and I publish that information, it is very clear that the trends are established. We know for a fact that because of the rush to buy, to stock up a few days before the president's announcement for the lockdown, prices went up of foodstuffs, some as high as 3 times. And immediately following that, the lockdown, I came here and predicted, and I said that I'll bet anybody to come and bet with me that these prices will come down. And indeed, they did. But those prices of our farmers producing in Ghana, I'm challenging whoever is saying that the prices are high to come and prove it to us here. It's not for me to prove it. It's for him to come and demonstrate to us that indeed that is so. So when we are making such statements, I think we have to be very careful and be armed with the facts and not just throw the question and leave it as such. President for Food and Jobs has not failed. I'm surprised. This is the first time I'm hearing this for a long time. Everywhere, everybody who goes to the market over the last 3 or 4 years will attest to the fact that prices, Planting for Food and Jobs has succeeded in bringing down food prices in this country, and that we're at a level that a lot of families in the urban consumers are now able to afford what they couldn't afford before Planting for Food and Jobs came.
So that's the Agriculture Minister's version of the story. What is your version of the story? Have you been to the market recently? And if you compare the prices, what do they tell you? I've asked some of you to be sharing those with us. Let me read very quickly some of what we've had so far. It says the prices of most food products in the market has increased here in Tamale. You don't add your evidence. The minister is asking for evidence. Remember, do add your evidence, and let's see how that one goes. This one says, hi. It's just an unbearable situation at the markets without any social distancing. Hence, all are the mercy of the coronavirus. He says the NPP government is telling us that we are now on our own, and added to our woes, high cost of foodstuffs at the market. It is so unbearable. Papa Bisu is sending that from Accra. Thank you for sending in your message as well. I think the messages on food prices have actually got missing. I'll look for more of them and I'll share it with you. But if you have the evidence, like the minister is saying, show it. Let's talk Tech Thursday. 1 in 6 people with COVID-19 become seriously ill with breathing difficulties as one of the symptoms they're likely to face. With Ghana's cases going over 1,000 with 9 deaths, issues of life support equipment have become topical. One of them, respirators or ventilators, have been the go-to equipment in COVID-19 intensive care. Sadly, the country doesn't have that luxury because they're very expensive. But there is hope. An engineering student at KNUST, or engineering students at KNUST, have developed a low-cost automated ventilator. On Tech Thursday, Love FM's Kwesi Debra speaks with people behind that innovation.
The group of researchers, led by the president of the Institute of Safety, Disaster and Emergency Studies, Dr. Ishmael Norman, decided to undertake research on all-risk emergency preparedness in Ghana's hospitals. And do you know what they found? Only 45.5% had respirators. Of course, Kofanochi Teaching Hospital is having some, Kulebu Teaching Hospital is having a number of them. What about the district hospitals? The least said about them, the better. Students at the KNUST have, for the past 2 years, been working on how to write a good ending to the story captured in the Ghana Medical Journal. Professor Mark Aduma-Samoa is Provost, College of Engineering.
Most of the district hospitals and community hospitals, they lack ventilators. So we initiated a project with the University of Michigan to build locally made ventilators.
Hospital-grade ventilator costs between 130,000 cedis and 300,000 cedis. The team, put together by Professor Mark Aduma-Samoa, has been thinking of less expensive ventilators.
We felt that if we could get a ventilator that could have the basic functions for human breathing, then it will go a very long way to help with our health delivery system.
The prototype has an initial cost of 20,000 cedis, which the college believes will reduce significantly if mass-produced. Professor Kwame Osei-Boateng is one of the project coordinators.
When you are building prototype, it's not that which we use to price the product on the market, but rather all these problems we are going through, once we are done, we would have prepared templates and we can then mass produce. When you are mass producing, you do a whole lot at a time, and so you are able to bring the price down.
Ashanti Regional Clinical Engineering Manager, Ghana Health Services, Eric Sakimensa, though is impressed with what is likely to be the first automated ventilator to make its way into Ghana's intensive care wards, he knows additional functionalities will be apt.
For a life support device like a ventilator, you need to check something we call the SpO2, the amount of oxygen in the patient. We need to know. Also, it's a monitoring device, so we need to get its temperature, check sometimes the ECG, and then we have some technicalities that we call something like the tidal wave. We need to know all these things. And when we discussed with them, they made us aware that they have all these things in the prototype document.
Professor Osei-Boateng has therefore been taking notes.
What we'll be adding to it is that as it is, it's already automated, but still there are certain functions we could still automate further, because we are thinking that you wouldn't have some people may not be in so critical a condition such that they may be aided with the ventilator for a while, and then at the time they regain their composure and are able to breathe. Then the machine itself should be able to sense that now the person is okay, so it can go off by itself. Or if the person is okay and is on the person, at the time that the person begins to struggle, it should be able to detect and kick in so that it helps. These are the fine-tuning in terms of automation that we are thinking about now. Yeah, and in addition to this, we are thinking of adding devices that could also monitor the signals from the body, like the electrocardiograph.
The college says the ventilator, which is 95% complete, will be fully functional in 2 months' time, but will require financial support. For JoyNews, Kwesi Deborah.
Well, before I go, I do have some of your messages here. Let's see if we can quickly run through them. This one says food prices have increased abnormally. I have in this pandemic times. Officials shouldn't close their eyes and ears as if they don't know. A bowl of gari that used to sell at 5 cedis is now selling at 10 cedis in Nkwanta. The Agric Minister should send private investigators into the various markets to find out prices of food stuff. Dr. Koto Free, the food and Agric Minister, is lying. 5 fingers of plantain cost 5 cedis from Frank in Mataheko. Most of you have sent similar messages. Unfortunately, I've run out of time. Let me tell you about what we have done. The Multimedia Group Limited has donated sets of some personal protective equipment and alcohol-based hand sanitizers to some health centers and police stations in Accra. The gesture, according to the General Manager of Adum Cluster and Multi-TV, Abdullahi Awudu, is to complement government's efforts in the fight against coronavirus. More in this report.
The Multimedia Group Limited, as part of its corporate social responsibility, has over the years supported the less privileged and also undertaken various social interventions targeted at developing society. On Wednesday, April 22nd, the group demonstrated this again when it made a stop at the Kotobabi and Nima police stations, the Malmobi General Hospital and the Nima Polyclinic to present some PPEs to the staff to aid in the fight against the coronavirus. The group's first stop was at the Malmobi General Hospital. General Manager, Adum Cluster and Multi-TV, Abdullahi Awudu, who presented the items on behalf of the group, urged the staff to continue giving off its best.
This is our contribution to your fight. You guys have been tremendous. You've been great on the front line. We know you are the first point of contact when anybody is not feeling well. So you are really exposed. But we've seen the great jobs that you've been doing. We know that we are in this together as media people. We are on the front line trying to educate people. And we thought that it would be good for us to come and support you in your work. So we brought some face masks, some latest gloves, aprons, sanitizers to help you do your work and do it very well. So on behalf of Multimedia Group,
please accept our contribution.
Administrator of the hospital, Madam Helen Tete, who received the items, was hopeful they would go a long way to aid and protect the staff in their line of duties.
Thank you very much. On behalf of management and staff of Mamobi General Hospital, I would like to say a very big thank you to Multimedia Group for this kind gesture. I think it will go a long way in the fight against the ongoing pandemic. We thank you so much, and we pray that you come again and again.
Host of Joy FM Super Morning Show, Daniel Dadsey, who was also part of the team, called on other organizations to emulate the gesture.
I think that it's an effort that is laudable, must be copied, must be promoted by other media houses. And I'm excited to know also that we are not stopping here. There are many other places which we will be supporting in like fashion.
At the Kotobabi police station, Chief Superintendent Yvonne Cindy Osei assured the team the items would be put to good use.
I wish to express our appreciation to the multimedia group of company for doing us this honor. It is said it's better late than never. We really appreciate your donation to us this afternoon. I believe, like you rightly said, we are all into this together as frontliners. And we promise you that we will use the item that has been delivered to us to good use. We hope the command and people around its catchment does not fall victims of the coronavirus. We are so much grateful.
Thank you.
Like the proverbial Oliver twist, we will definitely ask for more.
The team made other stops at the Nima police station and the Nima Polyclinic.
From our hearts to our frontliners. Before I go, just a very quick one. This one says, I bought 5 fingers of plantain for 10 cedis. The minister should come again. Fatih from Medina. Someone even says that you bought 5 fingers of plantain for 10 cedis. Says 4 fingers of plantain for 10 cedis at Medina Market. But the Minister for Food and Agri said the bunch costs 4 to 6 cedis. It would be good if he can tell us where to get that plantain for that price. I'm going to leave you here, but I'm taking you live to the Joy Prime Studios for Stone Boy's album listening. Do have some fun. Well, as you can see, it's already going on there. Have fun with it. My name is Gifty and Apia. There's more news when you log on to myjoyonline.com. Enjoy Stone Boy.
Miranda, in a the dirty avenger. Say, girl, you promise me, say you surrender. Say me and you, we go die together. But you put my life in danger. I never know you and I, we go be over. Never know you and I, we go be over. Wherever you there, I know you're missing me. I pray you find someone just like me. Listen, I they count to me living. It be 90 minutes, say you the see I'm feely. Don't be silly. I been there where they will himself every day you they calling me. You don't want my money every day you this compare up mimbede wango as dusty dembele kasi ayala ya panda fala ya panda sala na control by for a second. My telele girl say she want some dangelele. After she say pan the champagne, chuben ni matelele, mangelele. I buy a like it, me put it in her mouth and she want bite it. Things that are ready and me have to strike it, like a baby pelele in the 90s. Me tell her this, deal with it, deal with it, deal with the thing that my pelele. Deal with it, a bag of thing where I wonder. My telele. When the body broke and shot, make man of it to walk past. My telele. Say she go give me the body, oh. She no want your money, oh. My telele. Them they think you be arrow. Back to party and be caro. My telele. Telele, telele. If you cargo. telele, 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 telele. What's up, world? Thank you for tuning in. Road to Anwaga Junction. Yeah, man, we're still here. Uh-huh. Yeah. I don't go fit to do the work without a pay. My chain of food for running, and they maybe yes, so. Mama minchi mani, see where I be a go, my nigga pass me the beer. If you work with a do, with a hustle for heavy, say, no more hello trust. I want to wear designer. I'm a sema so much be. I want the things we find now. Obi ba mani mio, mani mio, mani mio, mani mio. Obi ba mani mio, wa 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 wa. Hey, Obi ba mani mi, mani mi, mani mi, mani mi, mani mio, mani mio, mani mio. Obi ba mani mio, wa 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 wa. Obi ba mani mio, oh, mani mio, mani mio, mani mio. Say the DHL. Flight BM2 into Obi body and the Fafani DHL. And I say, Meli no. Adrian, so you may listen to the another. Hey, Obi Bamani, money, 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 Obi Bamani, take it out. What's it? Oh, the enemy. Into your money, Moogies. I'm a semafi, what do? It's been a long time, girl, mommy, anymore. I know they complain, mama. It is enemy for the container, ma. Say one to me, and we must say we'll all be the first to ball. What do we phone? What's that subium? I'll be the first to ball. Oh, I wish that I have will like a dove. I will fly away. Yeah. Oh, be by money, mio. Money, mio, money, money, mio. Oh, be by money, mio. Whoa, 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 whoa. Oh, be by money, mio. Oh, whoa. Money mio, money mio, money mio. Oh, be by money mio. Tia, what's it? Scampe them, bum podo bum, some podum, symbolo bum, quimpa, podocotum. Oh, I. Some go down on me dream responsibility, see me now. So, my swab be the banana command in a crazy.